Hey everyone, I'm Maya Muniotis for Greek TV London and welcome to our brand new series, London Sights. Today, in our first episode, we'd like to show you the most iconic and the most majestic landmark in London and possibly the UK, Buckingham Palace, to my right. Also, the official residence of Her Majesty the Queen. Buckingham Palace has a very rich history, surrounded by iconic buildings. Various events take part during the year. We'll tell you all about that in more detail as we go along. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. And here we are at Admirals Arch, a prominent landmark in London, providing road and pedestrian access to the Mall, which stretches all the way to Buckingham Palace in the southwest and Trafalgar Square in the northeast. Admirals Arch was used for government offices until 2011, but in 2012 the UK government sold the building to a property developer for a proposed luxury development of Waldorf Astoria Hotel with 4 apartments. The building was sold on a 125-year lease for £60 million and is due to open this year. The arch was designed by Aston Webb, who also designed the Victoria Memorial and the new facade of Buckingham Palace at the other end of the Mall. Admirals Arch was constructed by John Molam and Company and completed in 1912. It adjoins the old Admiralty building, hence the name. Admirals Arch was commissioned by King Edward VII in loving memory of his mother, Queen Victoria. The Latin inscription at the top of the building reads, "In the 10th year of King Edward VII to Queen Victoria, from most grateful citizens, 1910. Sadly, he didn't live to see the project complete just 2 years later, in 1912.
Admirals Arch served as the official residence of the first Sea Lord, including Louis Mountbatten, 1st Earl Mountbatten of Burma. It also housed various government offices, initially for the Admiralty. The structure, which combines the features of a triumphal arch with those of a government office building, is asymmetrical. As viewed from the Mall, the right wing of the building has 1 floor more than the left one.
I'll tell you more about the history of Admirals Arch later. Just want to mention a few interesting facts about it. Beneath the building, there's a warren of channels and chambers and vaults housing government archives in the past. There's also supposedly a passage linking Admirals Arch and number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's residence. Another interesting fact is the use of the 3 arches in the middle. The far right and far left are normally open to the public for usage to normal traffic, whereas the middle one has always been reserved for royalty only. However, due to the renovations at the moment, the middle arch is also open to the public, but that's just temporary.
As the ceremonial entrance from Trafalgar Square to the Mall, which in itself is the ceremonial road leading up to Buckingham Palace, Admiralty Arch plays an important role on ceremonial occasions. Processions at royal weddings, funerals, coronations, and other public processions, such as the 2012 processions at the end of the Olympic and Paralympic Games, all passed under its arches.
Horse Guards Parade is a large parades ground just off Whitehall, formerly the site of the Palace of Whitehall's tilt yard, where tournaments were held during the time of Henry VIII. It was also the site where the annual celebration of Queen Elizabeth I's birthday was held, to much cheer and celebration. Over the years, various tournaments and events and formal ceremonies have been held on these grounds since the 17th centuries to the present day. It is surrounded by many military buildings and monuments, and it also features the beautiful London Eye in the background.
For much of the late 20th century, Horse Guards Parade was used as a car park for senior civil servants. About 500 were granted the privilege, which was known as the Great Perk. The PRRA's mortar attack on 10 Downing Street on 7th February 1991, which was carried out from a vehicle parked in Horse Guards Avenue nearby, narrowly missed causing casualties and led to concerns. In April 1993, the Royal Parks Review Group, headed by Dame Jennifer Jenkins, later Baroness Jenkins, recommended that the parade should be restored for public use and linked to St James's Park by closing Horse Guards Road. The proposal was taken up by the Department of National Heritage, but then resisted by senior cabinet members, apparently under pressure from the civil servants who were to lose their parking places. Public revelation of the resistance led to considerable criticism, such as by prominent columnist Simon Jenkins, who pressured the head of the Home Civil Service, Sir Robin Butler, to end general usage as parking as part of a wider program of reforms. In late 1996, Horse Guards Parade was cleared for repairs, and in March 1997, it was announced that parking was abandoned. The parade ground is open on the west side, where it faces Horse Guards Road and St James's Park. It is enclosed to the north by the Admiral Citadel and the Admiralty Exhibition Building. To the east by Admiralty House, William Kent's Horse Guards, formerly the headquarters of the British Army, and the rear of Dover House, Home of Scotland Office. And to south by Kent's Treasury Building, now used by the Cabinet Office. Garden walls on 10 Downing Street, the former residence and office of British Prime Minister, and Mountbatten Garden before the Foreign and Commonwealth Office West Wing. Access to the south side is restricted for national security. On the east side, Horse Guards Parade is normally accessible to the public from Whitehall through the arches of Horse Guards.
And this is the Mall, probably the most majestic road in central London, the city of Westminster, connecting Buckingham Palace and Trafalgar Square via the Admiralty Arch. In its east end, off Trafalgar Square and just by Whitehall, it also meets the Horse Guards Road and Spring Gardens, where once upon a time the London County Council was based. This road, the Mall, is closed on Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays to all traffic, and it's also public buses are prohibited from using this road and driving around Buckingham Palace at any time unless they have a special permission by the monarch herself, which has only happened twice in history so far, once in 1927 and again in 1950.
The Mall began as a field for playing Pall Mall. In the 17th and 18th century, it was a fashionable promenade bordered by trees. It was envisioned as a ceremonial route in the early 20th century, marking the creation of similar ceremonial routes in other cities such as Berlin, Mexico City, Oslo, Paris, St. Petersburg, Vienna, and Washington, D.C. These routes were intended to be used for major national ceremonies. As part of the development, designed by Aston Webb, A new facade was constructed for Buckingham Palace, and the Victoria Memorial was erected.
This is probably the only road in London and possibly the world that is coloured in a very specific red colour to specifically mimic a red carpet leading up to Buckingham Palace.
The red colour of the Mall was obtained using synthetic iron oxide pigment from Dean Sharga Oxide Works, or DeanOx, which was created using the DeanOx process advised by chemist Ernest Lovell. It was David Eccles' decision as Minister of Works from 1951 to 1954 to make the Mall red. The Mall also hosts sporting events. The annual London Marathon finishes on the Mall.
And I'm now standing in front of the main entrance and the main gate of Buckingham Palace. The history of Buckingham Palace began back in 1702 when it was commissioned to be built as the official London residence of the Duke of Buckingham. Today, Buckingham Palace is the official residence of Her Majesty the Queen, and it is also the place where all administrative work for the monarchy gets conducted. Her Majesty receives all her visitors in the state apartments at Buckingham Palace as well. Just to give a little bit of perspective of size, Buckingham Palace features 77,000 square meters of floor space, which is about 1,000 times bigger than the average UK home, which is about 73 square meters.
Buckingham Palace has 760 windows. There are also more than 1,500 doors. There's a lot of windows to clean and hinges to oil. The windows are cleaned every 6 weeks. There are also more than 40,000 light bulbs. The palace also contains a swimming pool, a chapel, a doctor's surgery, and even a post office. There are more than 350 clocks and watches, and 2 full-time members of staff to wind them and keep the collection in good working order. The largest single room is the ballroom, a 36 meters by 18 meters and 13.5 meters high. Of course, the Queen doesn't have all this space to herself. More than 800 members of staff work in Buckingham Palace, and over 50,000 people visit the palace every year as guests of the Queen at receptions, garden parties, and other official functions. That doesn't include the members of the public who visit the staterooms when they are open each summer. Buckingham Palace is now going green with an CHP, which is combined heat and power system to cut energy use, as well as double glazed skylights and some LED lights to reduce electricity consumption. For many people, visiting Buckingham Palace is the highlight of the trip to London, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see behind the usually closed doors at the Queen's official London residence. As recently as 1992, members of the public could only gaze at the magnificent buildings from outside and wonder what lay within. However, the palace is only open to visitors during the Queen's annual trip to Scotland in August and September each year. If you are visiting at any other time of the year, you'll either have to settle for enjoying the exterior of the building, or you may be able to splash out on one of the exclusive Buckingham Palace tours, which are sometimes available in other months. Entry to the palace is usually timed, with admissions every 15 minutes, unless you have a Royal Day Out ticket, which will be valid throughout the day. There's even a family audio guide available in English to help families with children between 5 and 11 get the most out of their visit.